So Milsim West is this cringy thing with airsoft where you like run around and shoot blanks at people. Now, if you're one of the few people out there who actually uses 5.45 by 39 blanks, you've probably run into this problem right here a lot, where your rifle will not go in a battery.
Yeah, you have to make sure it's seated all the way too. Yeah. So drop it. Drop it. I'll just like drop it. See that? That's no go. Yeah. Try it again. Do it again. Yeah, there we go.
That does not mean your rifle's bad. In fact, it means your rifle's good. If you have a bad rifle, it'll chamber these all day. And I'm going to explain to you why and how we're going to fix that. It's not your gun, it's the ammo. Okay, so let's talk about headspace real quick. Headspace is pretty much the distance from the back of the bolt to the breech face. So if your headspace is too tight, it won't close all the way. If it's too loose, it will close, but then there'll be too much space in there, the case expands too much, and it'll end up splitting across here, blowing gas all through it. It's not a good thing. So we use gauges called go and no-go gauges to determine headspace. And there's another one called a field gauge. So should close on a go gauge, should not close on a no-go gauge. So if we look at this rifle, which is kind of newer, maybe a little less than 1,000 rounds to it, closes on a go gauge, put the no-go in there, and you can see that gap. Now, so this rifle's properly headspaced and everything and in good shape. When we drop a brown bear blank in there, we have the same problem as the no-go gauge. It won't close on it. So why is that? Here's a live round. Totally fine. So the problem is not the headspace. Now, with these blanks, if you have a gun that is extremely worn out or out of headspace, so my AK-105 has thousands of rounds, so probably close to 10,000. We can drop a go gauge in there. Closes on it. The no-go. Now, it stops there, but if I press on it, I can actually get it to close. So this is getting close to not necessarily being out of headspace, but not an ideal headspace. A field gauge is like a safety gauge. It's kind of in between these two. This does close on a field gauge, but it takes a lot of force to get to close on a no-go. Now watch this. Brown bear blanks. It will actually close on those with some force, kind of like the no-go gauge. And also chambers live rounds. So a worn gun with sloppy headspace and also a worn barrel kind of at the throat will kind of alleviate some of the problems, but it will not on a nice, good new build. So again, headspace is not causing the problem, but can fix it. The real problem is the brown bear blanks are not the proper dimensions. Okay, so here's our solution for getting our blanks to the proper size. You're going to need a reloading press. Doesn't have to be a crazy one. This is just an old RCBS rock crusher. There's some Lee single arm ones that are cheap, or even hand ones I think would work. So if you're only doing it for this, I would just get something cheap. But if you do a lot of shooting with other stuff, you might as well get a reloading press anyway. You'll need a Lee Precision 204 Ruger collet neck sizer. Right? And I cannot post the link to any of this stuff or else YouTube will take down my video. But collet neck sizing die 204 Ruger. This is actually available on Amazon. So inside you have this die. And you can see there's a pin in the middle. We don't want that there, right? Because our round is already closed up. So you got to make room for it. So take that pin, don't need it. And then just throw this cap back on, tighten it all the way up. So this goes in the top of the press here, and this will come up like that. A shell holder will go here. Normally this holds the casing, and when it contacts the bottom, that pressure will force the top of the collet to close around the neck and reduce its diameter. So normally you would use this shell holder, right, that holds the rim of the casing. Problem is, it doesn't actually go far enough up. So you can either A, get a normal shell holder, any kind, and grind it off so it's just flat. Or B, if you're going to buy one anyway, for $6, get a 577 Snyder shell holder. So it's not going to hold the casing, obviously. But if you see there, has the perfect clearance to activate that. So we'll throw our shell holder in. Our die. All right, we'll start with it not quite all the way down. And keep an eye on kind of the neck of the blank. Throw it up there. Press. So that didn't do anything yet. So screw it down. It's starting to activate there. But if I look, it's not pressing it in enough. So I'm going to screw it down. I'm going to keep going and going and going until I get to the point where it is properly compressing the neck. So left has been run through, right has not. So that one's done. And I'm just going to do this over and over. And as you can see, I'm putting, you're going to hit a point where it stops, then put a little more pressure on it, and you'll feel it kind of cave in around that. And that's pretty much the gist of it. So find a good movie, podcast, or something, and just crank out all your blanks this way. So here's our fixed Brown Bear blanks with the right dimensions. Feeds just fine. So hopefully that helps you.